Well, hello again. It's Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. And I'm trying to go somewhere and can't get there today on this YouTube. And where I was trying to go was the place of blessing and show that Joseph was in the place of blessing even though he was in the prison house. And what God was going to pour on that man and put on him before he left this earth was astronomically unrealistic for a young Hebrew boy to be able to become as the father. He said, I became as the father of Pharaoh. He became second in the land. And as he did, Pharaoh said, I'm going to give you, in verse 43, and he made him ride in the second chariot. This is verse 43 of chapter 41. And this is what Pharaoh did with Joseph after Joseph found favor in his eyes. He made him ride in the second chariot, which he had, and they cried before him, and bowed their knee, and made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. As a young man taken out of the prison house and made second man in command in the land of Egypt. Listen to this. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. He's saying, I'm going to give you the power to say there's not one man in the land of Egypt can lift his foot up unless I say he can. I have got to give him permission to lift his foot. He's got to ask me for permission to lift his foot, because he was more liberal than that. He didn't make people come ask him if they could lift their foot. But what he was saying is that that's the kind of power that you're going to have. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, verse 42, and vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried before him, and bowed their knee, and made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. Here he is now, with Pharaoh's ring on, riding in the second chariot, with a gold chain, with the vesture of a king on him, and he was taken out of prison and put right here. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh. And in verse 45, and Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephanephana, and he gave him a wife, Ashkeneth, the daughter of the priest. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. Wow. Man, do you know that sends chills over my body, makes my hair stand up, makes me see that what God was doing with his son, Jesus Christ, at 30 years old when he put him in the ministry, after coming out of 30 years of seclusion, working in a carpenter shop with his father, God in the flesh. God had prepared Jesus to come up and do what he did and be what he was. And God had prepared Joseph and brought him through 30 years of life and brought him up. And here he is now. Spent the biggest part of his life was spent right in the prison house and being passed on, sold as a slave. And he is, by the way, he was a shepherd, by the way, And a shepherd was a abomination to the Egyptians. They wouldn't have anything to do with a shepherd. They wouldn't have anything to do with a man that handles sheep or cows or goats or oxen. They were an abomination to them. God saw fit to make things be an abomination to the Egyptians that would bless his people a little later on in life. Now we're going to see through the obedience and the blessing of Joseph how he saved the whole nation of Israel. How the whole nation of Israel, all the Israelite children in the world in that known day, were saved through the obedience of Joseph, the one that was sold into slavery. And verse 57 said, "And all the countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in the land." Now you know he had told Pharaoh by the hand of God, who revealed it to him, what was going to happen. There were going to be 7 years of plenty, and then there were going to be 7 years of great famine that would come to a name called a dearth, meaning that nothing was grown, and nothing could grow, and nothing would grow, and there would be no way to replenish the food that was eaten and taken off the land for 7 whole years. God did many things in the Bible in sevens. It took 7 years for the curse to get off the earth that was on the earth right then. God said, I'm going to shut the earth down for 7 years of growing, and I'm going to let it refurbish itself. Do you know that a man every 7 years refurbishes his body? If he's physically fit and healthy, his body totally refurbishes from head to foot every 7 years. And he becomes a new man every 7 years. If it was not for the devil polluting the human race and causing it to decay and to start falling apart and to die before its time, the human race would live in the original body that God gave it in as an eternal being. Because every 7 years he's renewed. He's all renewed every 7 years. And his organs and his body, and they're all new. And if you were putting no pollutants at all in your body, only what God designed to go in your body, then you would not have a problem with death and the appointment of death. The appointment of death was put on by the sin in the Garden of Eden that brought it on. And now we have a story of how Joseph's brothers and the Hebrew children, which are the Israelite people, came to Egypt to buy corn so that they would not starve to death. They were forced to come and buy staple food. They had some food, and they had some things. Undoubtedly, Jacob was a very, very, very wise man, because right at the end of their food supply, Jacob actually sent to Joseph and to Pharaoh some nuts and some things as a gift when he sent the boys back to buy grain. So he had some staples there that he had undoubtedly took care of. And so as they go back up to Joseph, we're going to go to chapter